What is one thing many Americans are looking for in the subcompact crossover market, aside from affordability? They want a vehicle that is practical, that's spacious, that also doesn't feel cheap. From one generation to the next, the Kona has taken a huge step forward in that regard, giving you a vehicle that just might be the best value in the lineup right now. In today's video, we're going to check out what the 2026 Hyundai Kona has to offer us. We're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why, if you are looking at buying a subcompact crossover right now below $40,000, you want a vehicle that looks futuristic, that feels futuristic, and also has the refinement and quality you desire out of a subcompact crossover, then maybe taking a look at the new Hyundai Kona for 2026 might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Mcgovern Hyundai in Danvers, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Hyundai Kona. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Hyundai inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2026 Hyundai Kona we have today, this is the Limited, coming in at just over $32,500. But that's with front-wheel drive. If you go with all-wheel drive, that will tack on an additional $1,500 to that price tag, getting you close to 35 grand, which is why I think going with the SEL for 2026 might be the better choice. And there's one specific reason as to why. I'll talk about that later on in the review. Now, aesthetically speaking, as you can tell for this generation, it is nothing like its predecessor. It is no longer a lifted hatchback. This is a legitimate crossover that kind of looks like a baby Tucson, especially with its body lines and angles. It takes a lot of styling from that vehicle. But in a way, it also has some styling elements from the Hyundai Nexo. So it looks very futuristic. It also has a very hybrid look to it as well, which some of you might be looking for this generation. Now, up front, you are going to receive full LED headlights and also LED daytime running lights with this light bar that runs the length of the front fascia. We are seeing this quite a bit now from Hyundai, which makes it look pretty cool and unique. For the lower portion of the front bumper, you're going to have some color contrasting accents here, giving you a two-tone look up front. But I will say, though, that what is missing from this model is a legitimate grille. We need a honeycomb mesh grille here to this vehicle. It looks kind of bare up front, but let me know what you think. Then as you make your way over to the side profile, very aggressive cladding here for the wheel arches and side profile. Hyundai has had a very interesting history with plastic cladding, especially for a vehicle that isn't necessarily off-road worthy or off-road tuned, but it's still going to be a vehicle that you can throw around and thrash around in the winter time. Now, with the Limited, you are going to have 19-inch alloy wheels here, and I know what you're thinking. For a subcompact crossover, 19-inch alloy wheels should create a lot more road noise and harshness to the ride quality. We'll find out later on during the test drive. Now, you are going to have body color match side mirror caps with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety, and then giving you some substance here, you're going to have some roof rails as well. Then as you make your way around to the back, I see a lot of that Hyundai Tucson here, especially with the brushed aluminum accents here that swoop around the C-pillar and into the rear fascia. Really nice design there. Now for me, I love the LED light bar that runs the length of the rear fascia. Again, gives you some continuity here from the front fascia and also gives you that futuristic styling some of you might be looking for. But better yet, again, this does not have that hatchback design. So it's a legitimate crossover. I know a lot of you are looking for that in the subcompact crossover market. For the lower portion of the rear bumper, you're going to have the brushed aluminum accents once again and some cladding that outlines those brushed aluminum accents. So it gives you a two-tone look for the rear fascia. Also, from certain angles, you won't notice that visible exhaust outlet, but it is tucked beneath the bumper for that cleaner appearance. But ultimately, though, what you have here with the Kona, I think it's a good-looking crossover, and better yet, is sized up enough that it can compete with a lot of its closest rivals in the second half of the 2020s. Powering the Hyundai Kona we have today is what's getting me excited the most. We have a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, producing 190 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. It is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. The top two trims for the 2026 Kona are going to give you the 1.6, which is why I think the SEL will be the wiser choice, even though we can't compare and contrast features that will be missing on the SEL that we have here with the Limited. I think for a vehicle coming in at around 30 grand, the SEL might be a wiser and more affordable option. Now, you can can go with a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that is paired with an IVT, but if you're someone looking for a sportier experience, you're not going to receive that out of that engine. Now, also one thing I want to point out here, we talked about this earlier on, you can go with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, but there's a key difference between both drivetrains, aside from the fact you have front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. By going with the all-wheel drive version, you get 8.3 inches of ground clearance, which really isn't too far off what you have from the Subaru Crosstrek. Front-wheel drive models come in at 6.9 inches. So if you're looking for a vehicle that can get you through some deeper snow, also, of course, maybe you can go off-road a bit, going with the all-wheel drive system would be the better choice. Now, obviously, though, for a subcompact crossover, it's going to come down to that fuel economy here, and this is one of the bigger sacrifices. So by going with the 1.6, you're going to receive right around 25 miles per gallon in the city and 28 miles per gallon on the highway. That is far from being the best in this market, but hey, miles per gallon are worth a lot more than miles per gallon. Hopping inside the 2026 Hyundai Kona Limited, you are going to receive heated and ventilated, that is right, leatherette trim seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side having power adjustability, whereas the passenger will have to manually find their ideal seating position, which I am a bit surprised by, because for a top trim coming in at around 35 grand, you would expect that. However, making up for it is the support and bolstering of these seats. Even though you no longer get the Kona N in the US, these seats have aggressive bolsters, gives you a sportier experience, and since you had the 1.6 under the hood, you're going to have a fun and engaging driving experience out of a subcompact in this market. I think that's rather huge. Even though I think Hyundai should give us a sportier model, what we have here for the Limited might be more than adequate, especially compared to its rivals. Really, though, for the Kona, it's going to be the dashboard layout. For a lot of subcompacts, it's a cheap experience, right? Yes, you're not going to receive soft touch materials on the dashboard, the door panels, or a center armrest, and that won't be found in the Kona. But the fact they give you a full digital gauge cluster and infotainment system, which is conjoined and placed very nicely on the dashboard, but also we have physical buttons and dials still. That is right, so many manufacturers are moving away from this. So you have a tactile experience while also still giving you a futuristic interior. Now, before we get into that digital gauge cluster, you have a nice leatherette wrap steering wheel. It feels really nice in the hands. Aggressive 10-2 and firm 9-3 grips. Also paddle shifters as well to rotate the gears yourself with that 8-speed automatic. Now, on the left side of the steering wheel will be buttons which will help you control your full digital gauge cluster in front of you. So from here, you're going to have your route guidance, but also your onboard compass here. You're going to have your lane centering and safety features, but also you can monitor your fuel economy statistics. Then, of course, your tire pressure monitoring system and torque distribution. Very similar to what you are going to find out of Kia products as well, but I think the resolution and quality is just a little bit better. Even though it's not going to be a major difference, I still think the smaller touches and the smaller graphics do go a long way here. Now, also showing up on your digital gauge cluster will be your drive mode selector, and that dial will be found on the center console, and from here you can scroll through normal, sport, and snow. So with all-wheel drive, you can take on some of those winter road conditions. Now, as you make your way over to the infotainment system, you have a nice 12.3-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility to go along with onboard navigation. Now, the screen will be found in Kia products as well, but like I said before, I think the resolution and quality and the coloring is so much better than what you're going to find in that Kia product. So with this, you're going to have a more immersive experience, but also a higher quality experience as well, which is a bit of a surprise since Hyundai and Kia are in the same price bracket. It just seems as though Hyundai focuses on some of those extra colors just a bit more. Now, from here, you can scroll through a number of different settings. Also, of course, you can have widgets here in place, well within arm's reach. We've gone over this numerous times with Kia products, so I'm not going to dive into that today, but I do like the responsiveness of this screen. Better yet, you will have the physical buttons and dials on the center console that will help you get different menus efficiently, such as your home, map, search, media, seek, track, setup, and then your favorite tabs. So they're bringing that over from last generation, and I love to see it. Also, you have physical dials for the volume and tuning. So really, I think it's a nice balance and blend here in the 2026 Kona. Then when placing the Hyundai Kona Limited in reverse, one, you have a number of camera angles to choose from, which is very surprising in this market. So when you do place it in reverse, you're going to have a rear backup camera with trajectory and a top view camera as well, but a 360-degree view. This is so rare to find in a vehicle under $40,000. And for a subcompact crossover, this gives you a lot more visibility and peace of mind when you are backing out of tight spots in a garage, or maybe when you're parking on a city street. But it does get better though, because when you do place your Kona in drive, you have a front-facing camera as well, and that top view. So a lot of visibility here, and you will have side views so you're not scraping those 19-inch alloy wheels. This is great to see. This is fantastic stuff here for a vehicle that is going to be seen as affordable transportation. Now, since we are talking about drive and reverse here, you're not going to have a gear selector on the center console like most vehicles that will be found on the steering wheel stock, which will create a bit of a learning curve if you are hopping into this vehicle for the first time. Continuing on, you are going to have your physical buttons for your dual zone climate control, your AC, front rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. Then continuing on, you're going to have two USB-C inputs and a 12-volt outlet, also a wireless phone charging pad as well. Great to see. And then you have more buttons as we make our way towards the center console itself. For your heated and ventilated seats, your heated steering wheel, that is right, your drive mode selector, auto vehicle hold, your parking assist features, your camera settings, it's all right here. So it gives you more of a cockpit feel for a vehicle that, again, is seen as affordable transportation. Then you can have two massive cup holders here and a tray for some smaller items, maybe a couple smartphones, wallets, or other tech gadgets. But you're also going to have a standard storage compartment as well for some loose change and some other smaller items as well. So a good amount of practicality up front. And then to round out the front seating area, above will be a power moonroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now for passengers in the second row, thanks to the larger dimensions for this generation, they get a lot more interior space. You're looking at right on 38 inches of legroom, which, to put that into perspective, is better than a lot of subcompact crossovers in this market and price range, but also would be on par with some compact crossovers out there. So really great to see for this vehicle. Also, thanks to its size, I think you can try squeezing in a third person in the center. So a lot of flexibility here for this model. Now you are going to have an aggressive center hump though, but that shouldn't create too much of an issue when it comes to that legroom and also shoulder room as well. Also, the leatherette seating material, very comfortable and plush in here, which is exactly what a lot of you are looking for out of a top trim in 2026. In regards to the amenities, you're not going to have heated outboard seats, but that is rare to find in a subcompact. You are going to have two center mounted air vents to go along with two USB-C inputs. And then to round out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with two cup holders. Now, as you return to the rear fascia to take a look at the cargo area for the 2026 Kona, by going with the Limited, you are going to receive a power liftgate. And inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right on 25.5 cubic feet of room. And this right here is the huge upgrade over last generation. That hatchback design maybe worked in the 2010s, but was not going to cut it for the 2020s, as buyers have very high demands now out of their affordable vehicles. Now at 25.5 cubic feet of room, this is on par with the Volkswagen Taos, Toyota Corolla Cross, Honda HR-V. This will be a nice middle of the ground vehicle because you are going to have less cargo space than the Nissan Kicks. But that's not really too much of an issue here. At 25.5 cubic feet of room, this is more than enough for a lot of buyers between $25,000 and $35,000. I was able to fit all my camera gear today with no issues. That's 3 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod. Also have a cargo cover as well for good measure. When you lower the second row seats, you're looking at right on 63.5 cubic feet of room. Once again, a little bit better than some of the rivals out there in this market, like a Mazda CX-30 and Subaru Crosstrek. So if you're looking for a smaller vehicle that isn't the size of a Hyundai Tucson, the Kona now for this generation might be the way to go. Without question, the 1.6-liter turbo is the right application for a crossover in this market. Now, some people are going to say, I'd rather have the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that is available for lower trims, and by all means go in that direction. But in this market, there's so many naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engines and crossovers that leave a lot more to be desired in regards to performance. I'm thinking the Subaru Crosstrek, the Nissan Kicks, the Toyota Corolla Cross, Honda HR-V. They're all great vehicles in their own right, giving you attributes and qualities that you want to have for a vehicle at around $30,000 to $35,000. But performance-wise, it might be a bit lackluster. With the Hyundai Kona, especially for this generation, this is a crossover that covers all the bases. It's been upsized from last generation, so it feels more crossover-like, better practicality, better interior space. It's also been updated significantly, where you are going to have a futuristic design for the interior, and you're still going to have physical buttons and dials on the dashboard, providing a nice balance here. It's a very welcoming driving experience, and Hyundai and Kia tend to do a pretty good job with that. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh, isn't the Hyundai Kona related to the Kia Seltos you featured a couple of weeks ago? No, it's not. They're actually built on separate platforms, and you feel that immediately. With the Hyundai Kona, it feels more refined. There's more stiffness to the suspension, more rigidity. And with that, you get a vehicle that feels a bit more higher quality at around $30,000 to $35,000. Also, with this 1.6, it's available for the SEL, so you don't have to go with a top trim, unlike with that Kia Seltos. So you're receiving a lot of value here, performance-wise, and also when it comes to creature comforts and amenities. I mean, we have heated and ventilated seats here in a Kona at around $35,000. That is huge. Not a lot of manufacturers are going to provide that here in the subcompact crossover market. Also, I think it's going to boil down to the fact that this feels like a crossover, that it's a baby Tucson, and that was a huge step for this generation and for this nameplate. Now, in regards to the seat positioning, though, and this is huge because last generation was basically a hatchback. You sit pretty high up in this model, nice commanding feel and presence over the roadways, not necessarily like a Hyundai Palisade, for example, but enough to give you extra safety. When it comes to the A-pillars, they're not that aggressive, so I don't think you have any blind spots when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Then taking a look at your side mirrors, they are somewhat small, but I can see what's on my blind spots and the lane next to me. And then looking out back, nice clear view even with the headrests in the way. It really is its size that I think makes it a great choice and also a better choice over its predecessor. But also when you're on throttle, this transmission shifts very smoothly, no droning, and I do like the sound of this 1.6. That's the game changer for me. That is what would sell me on this model if I was looking for a subcompact crossover from Hyundai. It's just that this is a better choice over that naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. Now, also with this model, as you talked about earlier on, a beefy steering wheel with aggressive 10-2 and firm 9-3 grips, also paddle shifters to remind you what was lost from last generation, which didn't carry over. But one thing I am really impressed with is that in sport mode, the steering is decently weighted, and better yet, the throttle response isn't fake. It doesn't feel manufactured here. This actually has an authentic, sporty experience. So even though you're not going to have that N badge, you're still going to have a fun driving experience here with this model. Also, with this suspension, it is tuned rather softly, so when you do go over the bumps and imperfections, you don't get thrown around, you don't get hassled, which is great to see. But I think really, though, for the Hyundai Kona, for this generation, the main selling point is the fact that it is decently sized. And when you factor in the pricing as well, that is an icing on the cake there for this model that a lot of rivals are not going to be providing right now, at least in this segment. You can cross-shop this with the HR-V, you can cross-shop this with the Toyota Corolla Cross, and sure, I think those models are going to be providing a lot of pros here compared to the Kona, but with the Kona, though, you're getting a model that can keep up with those rivals right now in the 2020s. So let's get on the highway here. Let's do one quick acceleration before we wrap up this review. And the corner's body roll, a decent amount of body roll. So it does feel somewhat top heavy, but very confidence inspiring. And we've merged onto the highway safely. Nice, very nice. Now at highway speeds, road noise isn't too bad. Hyundai tends to do a pretty good job with their interior insulation. They can mask their larger tires and the road noise that would be associated with those larger tires, and they've kind of done that again here with the Kona. Now, on the highway, has a nice composure on the roadways. Again, it comes back to the fact that it feels like a traditional crossover, which is going to appease a lot of you out there at this price point. I think the lifted hatchback days are over in this market in general. So all in all, after this quick test drive with the 2026 Hyundai Kona, I like it. I really do. It's been a while since I actually featured this model, and this is the first time featuring this generation. This is a huge improvement over its predecessor in more ways than one. Now, I think that enthusiasts will disagree with me on that because they like the hatchback look, they like the sportier aspects that didn't make its way to this generation. But for this particular market, and now in the mid-2020s, what buyers are looking for, what they're demanding, this is exactly in line with those demands, and I think Hyundai has a winner here with the Kona compared to its rivals. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2026 Hyundai Kona Limited. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.